How do I behave and feel as though my highest timeline is already here? So that's what I'm going to cover today in this video and talk about some tips and tricks on how to do that and kind of how to be able to do that quantum leap timeline jump as well. So, my name is Crystal Hoban, aka Crystal Clear Mystic, and I'm talking about this because a client actually brought this up to me recently, wondering how you do this. And so, one of the things that they had said was that they struggle to be able to believe an active as something has happened when it hasn't. And I thought it was very interesting because when you talk about quantum leaping and quantum jumping, and even the quantum field in general, there's a belief associated with this that every single experience, every single option, every single timeline is happening all at the same exact time. So every single thing that you had made a choice of, the opposite choice of that is happening somewhere right now, exactly as we speak. And so, with this whole idea of quantum physics and the field of quantum and believing in manifestation, there's this belief associated with it that time is just a human construct. And so, time does not actually exist. And because time doesn't actually exist, that is why you are able to timeline and quantum leap, because you can match that frequency, which will magnetize that towards you. So, what does that mean? So, you can match the frequency, meaning the emotion of what it would feel like to be on that highest timeline, and that magnetizes that timeline to you so that you can obtain it and live it in real time right now. But the reality is that you are living it, just a different version of you is living it somewhere, right? So that explanation kind of helped a little bit for this person to be able to wrap their head around the idea. Now, when you think about this quantum leap idea, this idea of connecting to your highest timeline and feeling your highest timeline and living your highest timeline, you hear a lot of people talk about the identity shift that comes with quantum leaping. And so that is how a part of what you need to understand how to feel as though it's already happened or it's here. So when you think about your highest timeline, which me as a psychic, I have seen my highest timeline in my third eye many different times. And I have a feeling that other people do this as well. I don't think I'm special in being able to do that. I think I just am more sensitive and aware of what is happening in some ways. So when you imagine your highest timeline, and as I'm saying this to you, something is popping into your mind. You're having some type of vision or thought or some type of narrative that is coming to you when I say that to you. And that is most likely your highest timeline. So when you think about your highest timeline, pay attention to what comes up and then ask yourself, how would this person or how would I in that highest timeline space, if I was living that life already, act, behave, feel? What would I do? Right? Because part of this shift in frequency and this matching of frequency to magnetize this in is associated with the idea that you are going to take on that identity as if it already is. And as I'm saying this, one thing that I've heard that I really like, and I think it helps you to understand this concept really well, is that people who quantum leap or timeline jump or really shift their lives in that way, they're not focused on what they're seeing in the 3D as much as they're focused on what they're seeing and visualizing in their mind and experiencing by themselves with themselves. So, what I mean by that is, let's say you want to become someone who is a playwright, okay? And you're writing a play and maybe you have not found somebody to who wants to take your play on, right? You can go into the identity that you are probably living in actually in the timeline of, ugh, nobody's gonna like my prey, right? Nobody's gonna take me on. I'm gonna be stuck in this space forever, right? Like the thought matters. The thought patterns really do matter. Or you can say, I just haven't found the right person yet, but I know that the right person is going to come through. And I know that this is all going to work out. And I know that this is going to be seen by millions. And I know, and I know, and I know. And I know it's just with time. So, what's happening outside of me that I don't prefer, I am not taking that on as if I'm doing something wrong or that I'm in the wrong place. Instead, I'm seeing that from a perception that actually serves me rather than from a perception that doesn't. And so when in the playwright example, right, when you can come from that perspective, well, it just hasn't happened yet, but it's bound to come. It's coming. I know it. I can feel it. I know. Then you are magnetizing that towards you. You're also keeping your, emotions high, your feelings high, your excitement high, right? Because you know deep down that everything is going to work out and it's all going to come to your favor. So that means that you are going to take the aligned action when you're feeling it. You're not going to stop writing the play, right? Like you would in this kind of energy, or sit in a boohoo place or a victim mentality. You're instead going to keep pushing through. You're going to keep reaching out. You're going to keep putting yourself out there, right? So this is kind of where it comes with like why it's so important how you're thinking about it, because the aligned action as well as the way that you're thinking about it, you're either going to damp the aligned action and like keep yourself from doing it or not, right? And this negative mindset, you're probably going to like not be writing as much. You're probably going to get a little bit stuck. You're probably going to stop reaching out to people because you don't want to feel disappointed. And the reality is that all of those things are coming up for you to learn how to manage them, for you to learn how to sit in them, for you to learn how to be okay with people not liking what you're doing. Because the more that you put yourself out to be seen, the more you open yourself up to criticism. There is not one person in this world who is very well seen who is not liked and hated, and everything in between. So, part of preparing for this quantum leap, for this timeline jump, for this highest timeline experience is learning how to manage that piece and learning how to do that really well without letting it break you down, without letting it stop you in your tracks. It's about learning to overcome so that when that does happen, probably on a much larger scale, when you do hit that time point, you have now had the experience of how to take care of it and what you need to do to overcome it, to therefore be able to move through it when it happens again on a larger scale, once you reach that optimal highest timeline that you are dreaming of, right? So, you know, visualization, all of those boards and stuff, I mean, they're wonderful tools. And I think there is value in being able to do that, and value in being able to feel what you would feel in those moments, right? But it's also about kind of taking on the identity of that version of yourself that you are working to fully step into and become, right? Would that playwright get up in the morning and like rush through and get things done? Or would they feel comfortable knowing that everything is going to work out and instead maybe have a slower morning, drink some coffee and journal before they do that, or exercise before, right? Like when you think about your highest timeline, what do you think your day would look like? What would you do right when you wake up in the morning? How would you spend your time? What are the thoughts that you would have, right? Those are the things you have to kind of get solid on and start doing right now as if the identity is already here, which it is, just on a different level of perception or a different level of frequency, right? And the more that you match to that, the more you will act as if that version of you exists, the more that you will magnetize that dream to yourself. So funny because I'm thinking about there's a documentary right now on Netflix which I loved, and it was Eddie Murphy's documentary. And he talks about how he became as famous as he became, and really like how he had always imagined himself being famous from a very, very young child. And he had a pretty tumultuous life. He had a pretty difficult life at certain points in time. He was in the foster care system with his brother for a year. He lost his dad at a young age. I think his dad was murdered. Like all of these things happened, and he still felt like he was going to be famous, and he did what he needed to do to get there. And he actually started out as a comedian, which he does funny movies, so I guess that makes sense. I didn't know that. That was a surprise to me. But as you watch the documentary, and if you are somebody who is spiritually aware and you believe in all of those things, you hear his spiritual mindset in the idea that he is the creator, right? Just like we're all creators, and his belief system affects what he brings into his life, right? And if you watch the documentary, there are these points in time where he does talk about manifestation, much like oh my gosh, the guy who did The Mask. He does the same thing. He talks about this, and he talks about how he believes we're the creators. And I think he disappeared for a while and came back as like a bearded guy, and everybody's a little freaked out. I think he had some type of spiritual awakening, because just the way he talks about things, like he manifests. He believes in that too. And really, what they're talking about, and he has a funny story. He used to go to a really rich neighborhood when he was poor, and he imagined himself getting a check for $1 million for being an actor, right? Manifestation at its finest. Now, he did take the aligned action that he needed to take to also kind of bring that towards him and put himself out there, right? Like, I think one of the things that we sometimes get caught in is this idea that like what's meant for us will just find us. And the reality is that learning to grow the cojones to put yourself out there and be seen is what is going to magnetize that towards you. Because your highest timeline is about you choosing to be seen unapologetically in whatever you're doing, right? So you have to first be able to take the step to put yourself out there so that you can be found, right? And then the other stuff will fall into place. So, all of this to say that if you would like to reach your highest timeline, if that's something that you really are working towards, you want to quantum leap in this life, you want to timeline jump, then those are the things to really think about and get really strong on mind wise so that you can be able to do so. And I think that one of the things I've realized as I am quantum leaping and moving in my own way, and taking on a new identity, which this is now my second time of doing this, is like the idea that, there are so many unconscious blocks and fears that really do get in the way of it and make it really difficult for you to follow through and do that thing. And you really have to learn how to sit in those things, how to release those things, how to shift, right? Those perception and those ways of thinking so that you can be successful. And that takes a lot of like awareness. It takes a lot of mind strength. And it takes a lot of like resilience of wanting to do it. If you want to do it, you will do it. Right. But there are these pieces that do need to align as well for you to be able to do that. So I do offer one on one coaching to help people to be able to remove unconscious blocks so that you can reach your highest timeline, so that you can find your purpose in life and live a purposeful life. And so that you can feel truly empowered and loving yourself and live from that place in your heart on a daily basis. So you can find that in my bio if you want to take a look at that and you feel called. But you can do it too. We all have a right to be able to reach our highest timeline. It's just how much work are you planning to put in or willing to put in, right? How much are you willing to invest in yourself to do it? Love and light.